Well, here's the good news. They're still going to the playoffs. They still have a chance to win the Super Bowl. All that's still in play as we welcome you to Eagles Postgame Live, presented by Pure Auto Insurance. Barrett Brooks, Ron Jaworski, Jason Avant, Reuben Frank. I'm Michael Barkann. That's the good news. The bad news is really pathetic display by the Eagles, even though they were playing their reserves. That brings up a question as well. But when you close your eyes and you ask yourself, did these guys play up to expectation? Did they play up to potential? Did they play up to the way their coaches and themselves wanted them to play? I think the answer is an emphatic no. They should have kicked butt today. They didn't. It's unfortunate they've got to go into the playoffs in this manner, 24/7. Washington, Barrett Brooks, the way you saw this was what?
I saw a team that played against some ones. I saw our team playing our backup roles, and I saw a team that played their starters. Our expectation is whoever gets put on the field, we should win. Yes. But we had inferior talent out there against their starters. So it's a decision by the coach to rest our guys. Now we're going into the playoffs on a bad note. So, I mean, hopefully those guys get it together going to next week ready to rock.
They will play the San Francisco 49ers, so we know that. The question that will be asked all week, and unless they win the Super Bowl, I would say, is should they have played their starters today? We all agreed pregame that rest was a good thing. Jaws, should they have played the starters?
Well, we all agreed. I can't change the way we.
Well, you can. Hindsight's 20/20.
I can't do that. That's not how I roll. But I know what you're saying. We just didn't play good football and realized a lot about our backups. I thought Tanner McKee he started out well, but he made a ton of mistakes. A terrible throw down in the middle field for an interception. Threw the fourth down play out of bounds. Scrambled from the pocket far too often rather than staying in the pocket and moving in the pocket, but that's not his strength. So I think, all the talk about maybe Tanner McKee, second-round pick if you want to trade him, all those things, I don't think that's going to happen. We saw why he's not on the field and why Jalen Hurts is the quarterback in number one. So, but I think overall, in the general statement is we looked really sloppy, which is we're not accustomed to seeing that when the regulars are in there and Nick and the coaches they got their star players there. We just didn't look like a well-organized football team.
I think that's the biggest thing, Jason, that they look sloppy. Would you have played hindsight now, of course?
No, hindsight, I thought it was the right decision. However, when you come out and you have such poor play calling where Tank Bigsby is getting yards, we wanted to make this the Tanner McKee show and throw it out there to receivers that was having a hard time getting open against the Commanders' secondary. And then you couple that with playing not much man-to-man coverage on the back end, going cover 3 and cover 4 on third down, giving easy completions up. And then our secondary was awful when it came to 9 penalties for 123 yards. That's as bad as you can get. And everyone knows right now, if anything goes on with our starters in the secondary, we got a bunch of dudes that know how to hold. Yeah. That's what we do. Yeah. If you need a massage, you come to us. That's about it.
That's about it.
Next. A lot of grabbing.
Reuben?
Yeah, I mean, the 2C was right there for him. Josh Johnson he's a 39-year-old guy who's won one game in his career. And you like your chances, if Detroit wins that game, you like your chances to beat this guy. I mean, he just made play after play. It was embarrassing what he did to this Eagles secondary. And I got 4 DPIs for 86 yards.
That's it? I thought it felt like more.
You're not going to win many games. There was a couple of defensive holdings as well. So, yeah, I mean, I said it in the pregame, these backup cornerbacks are not good, and we saw it.
Yeah, you definitely did say it in the pregame. And we've been wondering where Jacorian Bennett's been. We know where he's at now. We know why he hadn't been playing. Goodness. Like, you have to – it looks like we had guys out there that looked like they didn't belong in the NFL.
Right.
And that's the problem. Like, when you throw the ball down the field and you're not even close to covering them, you're just out there tackling people. They thought it was WWE. It was weird. And I was like, dude, this can't be our secondary unit.
Yeah. So they weren't even competitive. It's no question why Jackson is playing right now. Because there's no way that any of those guys that played on the field in the secondary today could go out there and play against anybody, and expect to win. Teams will just pick us apart if any of those guys have.
And look at the play that where Johnson scored when he ran it, the last score of the game, and Keely Ringo has him eyed up. And then he peels off and goes to cover a receiver who was already being covered. And I don't know that he would have made the tackle. Maybe Johnson pushes him into the end zone. And by the way, Detroit did its job, as Reuben indicated. Detroit wins, last-second field goal to beat the Bears. And we were thinking a little bit, even if the Eagles could have gotten them to overtime and ended in a tie would have put the Eagles at the second seed as well. So it's it just leaves you going into the playoffs with a bad taste. Although,
and I hate doing that too. I hate going into the playoffs and you don't have the momentum going in. Once again, I'm glad it was the second team guys that were out there that got beat by this Washington team. It wasn't our starters, and that's something to look forward to, because I mean, you look at the Commanders, they're ready to pack up and go home. If we just put the nail in the coffin, it'd have been great for us because they were ready to fall off. They were ready to lay down and say no mas. Well, we gave them an opportunity in the second half to really start playing hard again, and they pulled out a victory.
And we're going to see one of the great schemers and designers of offense next week. Shanahan is really, really good at what he does in designing an offense and getting matchups that favor his personnel. So that's the first thing I thought of Kyle Shanahan and what he's going to do to that secondary.
I still like it.
How many times did Tanner McKee have the ball in his hand at the top of his drop with no one to pass the ball to because guys were covered? We have to devise play calls that gets guys open. And you saw the thing that we've been talking about in the Philadelphia media and market for a long time is that can Kevin Patullo get guys open? And this is one of those games where you don't have A.J. Brown, you don't have Devontae Smith. Now you have to scheme guys open, and in this game, it didn't happen.
Well, I did like that they ran a little waggle protection. They did break up that a little bit. Tanner McKee did have time, but he didn't see guys that were open. Why? Because they weren't open. Nobody created separation. So it was a lot of things that I saw in this game that really makes it evident why these guys are second team as opposed to first team.
And the backup line basically didn't protect him well enough either. When he had to throw the football, he did not get time the last couple of drives.
He did not get it. He could also run, and he chose not to run, but he's not a runner.
He didn't run very well.
I have to be fair, too. That last pass on fourth down has to be complete. Right? Because if that's Jalen, we'll say it. That has to be on the money on the sideline. Yeah. Tanner McKee had an opportunity to extend that game. The ball was high to Granson.
It was out of bounds.
It was high and out of bounds. And there was a few times in this game where there was guys that were open that he didn't get the ball to.
It was like a disappointing day for him. I mean, I expected more. I expected better, more consistency, more accuracy, better decision making.
Yeah, and we were talking again in pregame live about what would happen if he had a great game. What would that mean going into the offseason? What would it mean for him next year? Would he be shopped? Would fans be screaming? Would fans be screaming, he should be number one? All that's put to rest right now. And I guess it was brought up during the game telecast. Would you have thought to bring in, whether it's Devontae Smith again or Jalen Hurts again or any of the starters that were active, suited up, but that did not play?
No.
Could that have worked?
I don't think so. I don't think you put guys at risk like that. Guys sit on the sideline.
It's different.
Yeah. It's a difference.
You would risk Devontae Smith to get it that.
I didn't like that situation. I did not leave. If you're going to play him, you're not going to play anyone. Why play Devontae?
I like that, though.
Yards. I just didn't like the decision.
Yeah, I understand. But I wanted him to get 1,000 yards, and he went out and he did it. First three.
What
passes.
if he got hurt? Would you felt the same way?
No, I was just really mad. Yeah. I'd have been mad. Yeah, you're right.
Field. Jalix Hunt is on the field.
Young guys.
Yeah. Okay. Young guys, but starters.
There is my problem is this, especially with offense. You get another opportunity at the end of the game with a minute left or so. Defense does its job, gets to stop. There is situational play calls that has to occur in that situation, right? You don't have timeouts. You devise plays, sort of like the Bills did with the hook and ladder on the third down, on third and 2. Like there's plays in your playbook that's made for that situation. We saw them run their normal offense rather than a specified playlist of curated plays for this situation, and that's a problem for me because you want to see us growing because those moments may come up again in the playoffs. And if you don't have a plan for it, you're going to fail.
All right. Right.
So just so I'm clear, there's another chart. There's another group of plays.
Yes.
We go to this now.
Yeah. So in those situations, Andy would have a last 6 plays, and we've seen Tyreek Hill over the years when he was with the Chiefs score off a few of those. Throw the ball over the middle, and you have like a middle screen for the guy because you know that they're going to be guarding the sideline. That play right there can gain you 30 yards on a first or second down situation, right? A hook and ladder, like these particular plays are for those situations. And I thought that they ran their normal offense in the last situation.
Just little plays like maybe since nobody's looking for Tanner McKee to run a draw play, run a QB draw. Everybody's dropping back. Everybody's running out for coverage. And there were running lanes open. I know he's not swift of foot, but at least he can get a couple yards going in and get the sticks going, get the first down. I didn't see any of that innovation in what they were calling. I saw some, like I said, waggle plays where they gave him a little more time in the pocket, but nobody was still open on those plays.
You never want to waste plays, but sometimes you call plays to set up other plays. Is what you're talking about. Set things, throw down the middle. Let's see what coverage we're going to get. Give them different formation directions. See what coverage we can get. Probe the defense to kind of figure out, okay, we may need this situation late in the game. We had to keep the ball inbounds, near the sideline. We had to have a play to design a play, an inside receiver going out. So he could catch football and get to the sideline and get out of bounds. I didn't see any of that.
My sense was whatever they called Tanner just wasn't up for the task on this day.
Right.
He just wasn't good enough.
He was 21 of 40, 241 yards, a touchdown, an interception, passer rating of 68.9. Let's go across the street right now. Just outside the locker room at Lincoln Financial Field, there are Ashlyn Sullivan and Dave Zangaro. Do you think Nick Sirianni is regretting his decision to sit the starters today, Ashlyn?
I don't think he's going to regret his decision. We know how important it is for these players to go in healthy into the playoffs, so that is now going to be the dominating question because you have the Lions handle business, and you could not handle business here in Philadelphia. The 2 seed was up for the taking, but I think this all boils down to, and no one should be surprised by this, the difference between starters and backups. Tanner McKee didn't look comfortable a lot in this game, and the biggest discrepancy to me, Dave, was the drop-off in the starting secondary and the backup secondary.
Yeah, it was a problem, Ashlyn, because, they had an opportunity in this game. And I think that's why Nick Sirianni is going to second guess so much. I don't think he can second guess himself. He made a decision that he knew could come back to bite him, and it did. But they still had an opportunity to win with the backups in this game. The secondary was awful. I mean, we're seeing now why Adoree Jackson is the guy at CB2. Those guys were awful in this game. And then on offense, you guys are right. I mean, Tanner McKee just had a bad game. There were plenty of throws to be made. Even the 4th down at the end of the game, he's got to make those throws, and he obviously looked way better early in the game with Devontae Smith. You'd expect that. You'd like to see him carry that through a little bit and make some more plays, and he wasn't able to.
Right, Michael, we know that Nick Sirianni is going to get major questions in his press conference here in a couple of minutes of why not play the starters, why not be more aggressive to go for that 2 seed. But the conversations we've been having in the locker room is they don't really see it mattering of who comes into Lincoln Financial Field in the playoffs. They have the confidence that they are able to beat anyone here in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun matchup. I heard you guys talking about that San Francisco offense. It can be really dynamic. It's Vic Fangio against Kyle Shanahan. I mean, that's a lot of fun. You got to turn the page to that. It's a weird game. It's a weird situation. You end the season or the regular season on a down note, right? But you got to flip the script pretty quickly because you got a good San Francisco team coming in next week.
Right. Pretty quiet going into this locker room, these players, but they know they have to flip the script here very quickly, getting ready for the playoffs, guys.
And no doubt, Ashlyn and Dave, we will say the slate gets wiped clean. This is a different week, et cetera, et cetera. That's all well and good. But do either of you think, and you're in the locker room every day along with Reuben, do either of you think that it'll be more difficult to do than say after losing a game like this the last week of the regular season going into the playoffs?
I don't believe so. I think especially with the starters not playing, they had mentioned that they're already kind of sort of looking towards the playoffs already. They have their focus on bigger aspirations, bigger goals than just winning the last game of the regular season, especially see Devontae Smith get a couple of catches. I just think this Eagles team is going to be able to flip the script pretty quickly here, knowing you have a very important task to try to beat the Niners here in Philly in a couple of days.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that a lot of the guys who have to do that didn't even play in this game. So I don't think they're going to be down in the dumps about losing in the way that they did. They weren't even playing. So, yeah, I think for those guys, it will be a little easier. Not the ideal outcome here because it was right there for them, but that's the way it goes. We knew this was a possibility. This was one of those disaster scenarios that, the other game goes the way you need and you just have to win and you can't do it.
Yeah. All right, Ashlyn, Dave, thanks so much. We do point out that the Eagles were a 3.5-point favorite in this game. Let's take a look at the quarterback comparison presented by Team Toyota. Tanner McKee, the reserve in his second season against Josh Johnson. They weren't on the field at the same time, you see, but there they are, head to head. And McKee, 21 of 40, 241, a touchdown and an interception, passer rating of 68.1. It was over 150 in the first quarter, and then it just went down from there. 3 rushing yards. Josh Johnson, my goodness, 39 years old, 14 of 22, 131, a touchdown and a pick, 76-plus rating, 45 rushing yards, including that last touchdown where Keely Ringo looked like he had him dead to rights but peeled off. And you know what? Maybe there's somebody else I can cover. I don't want to cover the guy with the ball. Unfortunately, that's what happened. So,
Jaws, dust them off, Jaws. Dust them off.
With Tanner, though, it stands out to me and bothers me, as a matter of fact, is the interception. And that's one thing. We talk about Jaden all the time, not taking risk and all those things. That's what happens when you take a risk. If you don't see clarity in the middle of the field, you get interceptions.
Right.
And those are the ones, as a young quarterback, you learn from those mistakes. But it was a bad mistake.
Yeah, it was a double post. It was 3-over-2, and the safety didn't go with the through route. You want him to go with the middle guy, and he didn't go. He looked at number one, stayed there the entire time. And in practice, I'm sure they drew it up as the safety taking the middle guy every single time, but he didn't. He took the number one guy, so you have to be able to play ball in that situation. He didn't do it.
If you are preparing for next week, if you're Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and I guess a little bit as well, Devontae Smith, as Ashlyn indicated, just, I didn't play in that game, right, Reuben?
Yeah, I don't think those guys are going to be affected by what happened today. I mean, these are the backups. It's a different team. They're going to go into this thinking they can win the Super Bowl by, playing 3 games, winning 3 games, and a couple are going to have to be on the road and then going to Santa Clara and winning a football game. They have a ton of confidence.
You knew this was a risk. You knew this was a risk. It didn't work out. But now it's over with. It's done. Move on. Move on. We're live. We're well. We got a great team.
Wait, we're live?
We're live.
I'll say this, though. Our offense is drooling going against that defense. This is no longer the defense that we looked at, last year and the year before. This defense is not on the same caliber of what they've been facing actually this year. This is a defense they can score on, they can move the ball on. It's just, can our offense keep pace with their offense? I mean, with their offense, with their ability to go out there and score.
As we continue Eagles Postgame Live, you will hear from Nick Sirianni. Does he regret going with his reserves? What about Devontae Smith? The defense, the secondary, which was miserable today, and of course facing the San Francisco 49ers next weekend right here at Lincoln Financial Field. All that coming your way on Eagles Postgame Live, presented by Pure Auto Insurance.